time to do the console, and that's going to be the biggest project here. And it was actually the first thing that I started, and the first thing I screwed up. Yeah, I had to put it on, which I think you already saw in the first part, and then I had to rip it up. Long story short, I got a bit confused because I was using just photos for reference and mainly using Randy Cooper's build without realizing that he added aftermarket parts to his. So I was trying to build something that I couldn't build without having the parts. My original plan was I cut out several of the buttons on the panel, and then I covered the back with some clear styrene, and then I filled in the buttons with epoxy, not putty, epoxy glue. The idea would being that I could put a light underneath here and then color the epoxy with different clear paints, and they would glow different colors. Couple things changed. I decided I didn't want to go that route, and also I changed the color slightly, so I had to redo it. But ended up breaking this off, fiddling with it, didn't like the idea, so decided we are using one aftermarket part on this build, and this will be the only one. This is a photo etch set from Paragraphics. That was about 40 or 50 bucks, and gives you a lot of photo etch and also decals for the panels. And kind of confusing online, so I'm going to explain this in detail here. What you actually have to do is take these and cut it out, a majority of it, and to that point, and then you put a photo etch area in there, and then decal goes on top of that. So first thing we have to do is cut out all this. So we're going to break out the little mini moto tool and cut this out and see what happens. This is a one chance build here. I can't screw this up. Quick update. I found I think a better way to drill these out. This part you have to cut out entirely, but on the side panels here, you're only supposed to cut out a specific section. They give you a little template to use to cut it out, and that follows the shape of the photo etch that's going to go right here. However, I realized you don't really have to cut out all the photo etch, or that entire area for the photo etch. You can see there's some solid bits. So all I did, you can see on this side, used a drill, and I'm going to go around and cut out this little raised section. And then once you get that done, if you just take the photo etch and put it on the front or the back side's a little bit easier for you to see. And that's that main section there, and then I just went around and I cut out the various areas that needed to be cutting out. So left a lot more material. I have a stronger base here, and also helps to deal with more of light leak issues. The only issue you have to worry about is with this panel here, don't go all the way to the edge. You're going to have a little bit of a lip still here. Once you cut this out, then just file this area down, because I don't want to cut all the way across, then we're going to lose the strength of the plastic piece. We want to leave a square there. So, quickie tip. Alright, that was 3 hours of my life wasted trying to get this photo etch in, and the main problem with it is it doesn't quite fit. It is just slightly off shape. Thought it could be because of something, because I pulled this off and tried putting it back on again, but no, that's not it. It's an issue just trying to get it to fit perfectly. You're supposed to leave a lip on this piece in order to seat the photo etch, but it just didn't shape right. Doing it that way, it ended up leaving a big gap on the bottom, and you're supposed to follow the same shape that this piece gives you. So I ended up basically taking everything off except for a little bit of lip on the top, and I sanded down the plastic, I thinned that out, I also thinned down the photo etch a bit. Thought it could have been, because I pulled this off and re-glued it, but I don't think that was the problem. But if you're doing this, I would glue these in first, these side pieces. That gives you kind of a guideline of what angle this is supposed to go at. And then just glue the top. Then I glued the plastic on, I didn't glue the plastic on. I put it in place, let that dry. Once the top was dry, I glued the side and then glued it onto the plastic. And they're not quite even, but it's the best I can do. Right now I painted silver inside to reflect the light a bit better, and just kind of glopped on some silver just to see if paint would take care of the light leak that I was currently getting, because it was coming through the super glue on top, but there was enough of it that once that super glue was painted, you couldn't see it anymore. So I thought after you put this on, you put these, and I thought these were decals, and thank goodness they're not. It's a plastic film, because decals would have been horrible over these big plastic or big open areas. So you have this sheet here. I just cut it out really rough because I wanted to see how it would look. And I drilled a hole in the back, and I'm just using the lights that I currently rigged up from the wardrobe piece, just to check for light leaks and what have you. And I can't move this because it's going to fall out right now, but come on, I can do it. There we go. Try to get that on camera. And the first thing I realized, of course, this is going to be a white one eventually, but I think I'm going to have to put 2 LEDs in there, because having one, the problem is it's way too close to the film. So the LED is not spreading out as much as it would if it was further back. So I think I'm going to have to carefully drill another hole into here. And you can see I can't go from that way because the hole is right in there. So I got to do it from the front. So I may actually have to drill 3 and just plug that one up in the middle. And also on the sides, I'm not going to light this yet because I don't know how much space I have, because I don't have a cavity here to put it in. I have to build a cavity, and I don't know exactly where this is going to fit in where everything else. So at the moment I'm going to just forget about this, and we'll figure that out at some later point. Almost time to paint this up and get it on the floor. Want to take a brief second here and talk about porn. Very tiny porn. One thing I want to do with this kit is actually to dirty it up a bit. Wow, that sounds weird saying that, those 2 words together. No, I meant make it look used, not a clean Star Trek ship, but something that looks more lived in. And so I wanted to put newspapers and pictures and stuff up like that. And I figure one of the bunks, we're going to add some naughty pictures. And so I found these. This is from Duplicata, and they sell various paper products scaled down. And I got this one. This is American Magazine's Vietnam War. It's 1/35th scale, so it matches our kit. And it has various magazines and little pinup girls, and I clipped some out and I put them in one of our bunks. I wanted to keep one clean, like that's the captain. He's, you know, rigid, military type guy. And then we'll have one guy who's a little bit more, you know, does whatever the hell he feels like. So this also has some magazines in it that has inserts, so you cut it out and you fold it over and you make a little Mad magazine like I did right there. And just want to show you this now before I forget. And I also got some various documents, so I can cut these out and spread these around and do little stacks on the computer console. One thing I didn't realize, I guess some magazines were larger back in the day, because you can see the papers, which I'm assuming are 8.5 by 11. The magazines are a heck of a lot bigger, so I'm not sure why, because they're both the same scale. I know some magazines they made on a larger scale, but like even the Time magazine is a lot bigger than these. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Like the Mad magazine, that's smaller size. So anyway, just want to show you some very teeny tiny naughty pictures. Yes, you can just go on the internet and find pictures and scale them down and print them out if you have a colored laser printer. However, I have to use the one at work, and frankly, printing out porn, regardless of the size, not a good idea to do while you're at work. A lot of repetitive stuff going on with the Mars hopper right now. I'm trying to finish the interior, and it's just a lot of doing the same thing over and over again and making adjustments based on lighting and positioning and figuring out what colors need to be where. Yeah, it's not a whole lot to tell you about moments. I did finish most of the console here. I did make a change. I'm going to put the lighting in from the bottom rather than from the back, because you could sand down LEDs to make the light a bit more 180 degrees rather than going out in a point. But that's what I'm going to do. But still, I'd rather have it the main portion going up against here rather than going up against the center of the panel here. So I did that, and the obvious part here is all the nice shininess that the camera's picking up. To facilitate the lights, because instead of doing two, especially on the console, I only want to go with one LED, because the more that we can reduce the number of LEDs, the better. And to distribute the light a bit better, I first tried using aluminum foil, gluing it down. That didn't work out too well. I couldn't find a proper glue. I ended up getting this stuff, which is metal foil tape or aluminum tape. You can find it in hardware DIY stores in the air duct section. And basically it's just sticky aluminum tape. And just cutting it down and putting it on here, and also putting it on the insides. That's the one I haven't done yet. Putting it on the insides as much as I can. And for like consoles, since I didn't think about it until after the fact, I had to go in with a whole bunch of little pieces and try to work it in as best as I could. But it is really easy to apply. It makes a great protection from light leaks, and also will reflect the light, so that one LED in our consoles will look much better. And very cheap, only $8 for that giant roll. That's going to last me a lifetime. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I need to get the floor done next. I haven't figured out what color I'm doing that exactly. It's going to be a darker color though. But hopefully next I can show you the entire interior together. The build's been going rather slow lately because I've been doing a lot of repetitive painting, just trying to build the interior. And I really wanted to show you everything when I got it done, and that's taking a while. So I thought I'd just take a quick break here, show you the progress so far before I kind of seal everything up. But yeah, trying to get just everything painted, all the little details, trying to decide what colors to use, this and that, took quite a while. We have the floor done. If I haven't mentioned it, the gray color I'm using is Model Air Dark Ghost Gray. And I decided to go for a darker floor color, ideally, because, you know, white for a floor is kind of an odd color. The one thing that's kind of odd is the orange color, trying to balance things out, because I put a little orange on like all the pieces, but then once I put it together, you know, starting to see how it comes together a bit better, like, oh, maybe I could have done this orange or maybe not, things like that. So anyway, that's coming together. I just glued things on here, so things are a little moist at the moment. I had to cut out the back of this panel here because that's where this panel actually butts right up to. So you have to cut this part out too. So I had to do that after I painted. What else do we have here? We got the wiring, in case I haven't mentioned that. I decided to go up with the lights for the front consoles rather than going from the back, because the light should distribute better if it's going straight up rather than having a hot spot if it goes through the front. And yes, I did sand down the LEDs, which helps us spread the light out a bit more. I did tell you about the aluminum tape. I know I did that, and that really helps to spread the light out. And I wonder, kind of hard to light at the moment. Let's see if I can get one thing lit here for you, just to show you how that looks. So that looks pretty good. Kind of hard to see in the bright light, I know. When you're doing these films on here, I recommend cutting out, leave a little bit of the edge of the film to it, because it actually doesn't fit perfectly into the console. There's a little bit of a lip, so you can see some of the photo etch underneath. So I would leave a little lip there if I were you, and then trim it as necessary. What else we have here? Lots of little things. This piece here, I didn't realize there is a small gap underneath these little portions here, so if you light it, you want to fill that before putting it down. I used a little epoxy putty. I didn't notice until the second one, so I had to go back and find something that you know, I can kind of smooch in there. You can use a little piece of plastic too, that'll work. That's where we are so far, pretty much. If I have enough time in this video, I'll show you the entire interior, but otherwise, that's maybe it. Started also painting the pilots, going for a more reddish tone for his uniform, because I don't want to match exactly with the orange here. So it's mainly Vallejo flat red highlighted with light orange, so it's more of a very dark orange color. And I have an idea. I haven't seen if I worked it out yet, but I'm going to try something with the other pilots. I wasn't going to use him because he's supposed to be outside. He's in the suit. I have something. I don't know if it's going to work yet. I'm going to try it, and then I'll let you know in the next part if it does work. So yeah, I got to button up the rest of it. I got this piece done. I got my little Mad magazine in there. The only other part I have to do, still paint, is the back exit here. And that should be it. Then we just have to seal it all up with the roof and do all that lighting. And then we can finally start on the exterior.
Good night, Mother.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, Hardcastle.
Good night, McCormick.
Good night, Chief.
Good night, MacLeod.